welcome back to the channel. It's Kai, and today's video is all about seashells. So since summer has officially started, at least in my mind, with the beginning of June, I thought what better tutorial series could I do than some seashells? I know for me, the beach was always synonymous with summer, and so today I'm going to walk you through how to do 6 different shell nail designs. They range from beginner friendly to a little bit more complex, more realistic. I focus kind of on trying to achieve some really nice textured looks. I love texture, I love 3D, so we're going to be doing a lot of that and a lot of chrome. For each shell, I will be going over what supplies you'll need and then diving into the in-depth tutorial. I will try to remember to put the chapters below if you just want to skip to a specific shell design. And of course, everything that I use will be linked in the description. Most of it is from Sweetie Nail Supply, and you can use my code to support me and save 10%. That's Get Pressed. And if you like nail art tutorials, if you like vlogs, hauls, all of that good stuff, please consider subscribing. But without too much more chit-chatting, let's get into the first shell design. Okay, so first up, I thought I would go over just kind of like your basic 3D shell design. I actually made a short in, I think it was 23. That was my first kind of like big video on TikTok. I'll insert that here. It's kind of crazy to me to look back on some of my older content and just see how far I've come, because if I'm looking at that video now, I'm cringing a little bit inside. Not that it's a bad video by any means, it's just like the way that I go about filming things now, the equipment that I have is so much better. But yeah, this one isn't necessarily meant to be realistic per se, more of kind of like an abstract representation of a shell. And this design is nice because you can do it in any sort of color that you want. You can make it a little bit more realistic with real colors, or you can do what I'm doing today, which is shifting towards more of like a magical sort of mermaidy fantasy nail. So let's start by talking about the products you'll need. Okay, so for this design, again, you can do it really in any colorway that you want, but you do need a white polish. This is a cream polish from Croissant Neri. You'll also want a milky white or some sort of lighter base color. You also want a syrup color for whatever accent color you're using, and a cream color matching that same accent color, and then some sort of magnetic gel. You'll also need a thick 3D non-wipe top gel for the texture on the top. And then charms are optional, but I like adding them to the base of the nail. You'll want a liner brush, any sort of kind of like medium-sized liner will do. And then we're going to start with our base. So again, you can use whatever syrup color that you would like. This is basically just going to be the background. I'm painting on one layer and then curing that before taking all of my accent colors and putting them on a palette. I just find it's easier to pick them up with a liner brush and paint them on that way instead of having to use them straight out of the bottle. And again, your color combo is completely up to you. You can keep it kind of monochromatic with a pastel and a white, or you can switch it up, but you'll want to lay down another layer of whatever base color you used. Do not cure it this time, and then take your liner brush and add curved stripes along the surface of the nail. I'm starting with the more opaque gels and spacing out those stripes so that I leave room between them for all of the other gels. You kind of just want to alternate the textures of the gels between the syrup, the opaque, and the magnetic, and also the colors, just so you get some really nice striations. Because we're painting into that uncured base layer, it's almost going to spread a little bit and achieve a slight marbled effect. Once all of my colors are laid down, I take my brush and I'm just kind of blending them together a little bit. It's okay if some of the colors mix. You really do want a little bit of that kind of like marbled blended effect. And because there is a bit of product on the nail, that's why you want to use a syrup base that you know will cure. I'm flipping it over just to let it self-level a little bit. And then I take my liner brush that I've cleaned off, and I'm just going to drag it down the nail. I'm starting from the free edge, working toward the cuticle, coming almost to a bit of a point. And this is just supposed to mimic kind of like the grooves in a shell, where you have all of those ridges that all originate from that center point. Before curing, don't forget to magnetize those particles in the magnetic gel. That really just adds to the variety in the stripes and adds a little bit of sparkle. Then you can fully cure it. Here's what it looks like afterward. Honestly, it looks pretty cool at this point. You could just top coat it and be done, but I'm going to wipe off the tacky layer, apply my non-wipe top coat. I'm really liking the Roro water gel right now. It's a thin consistency, but it's almost got like a tackiness to it that I feel just grips really well. After I cure that top coat, I'm going in with my thick non-wipe top. This is the Jinbei Crazy Top Thick. I really like it. I know some people prefer something a little bit more viscous, so whatever you like to use, take a liner brush, get a nice blob on the end, and we're going to do those 3D textured shell lines. So I start by blobbing it at the tip of the nail and then just dragging my brush towards the back end. If you need to, you can always go back in with more before you cure this, just to add volume. I do sort of a little like wiggly motion to get most of the product at the tip of the brush, and then just drag that to a point at the cuticle end of the nail. These kind of swirls I find really can just take some practice, some getting used to the viscosity of your gel. I also will sometimes take the brush and go past the edge of the nail and sort of make contact and drag the blob past the edge. I don't know if that makes sense. You can kind of see it happening here, but that just means you get a lot of the product at the free edge. You can also use your brush to adjust it before curing. Sorry that this is a little bit blurry. I kept forgetting to be in perfect focus for this because I was just trying to work fast enough before the gel self-leveled too much. You can see that for me, the Jinbei doesn't move that much. I think it has to do with the fact that my room is kept usually pretty cold. If you're in a hotter climate, your gel might be a little bit more runny. You might even consider popping the pot into like a bowl of cold water before using it to stiffen it up a little bit. And I am flash curing between each line and then giving it a full cure before applying our gemstones. This is just a gemstone glue, it's non-wipe, and so I put a little dollop at the cuticle end, place a sea star, a couple little pearls, and caviar beads. Now you can do this before applying the shell lines if you would prefer. I just find they kind of get in the way if you glue on the trims first and then you apply the shell lines. But to each their own, and then I'm just going to top coat to avoid any tarnishing, and we're actually finished with this look. So again, this is kind of like your classic 3D shell design that's very customizable, very magical, and summery. Okay, and then up next, I really wanted to try this trending design here that I've seen all over Instagram. I think I saw it first on Anurak10. I believe that's the Instagram handle. I'll make sure to put it in the corner there and put the link in the description. But it is this really textured nail look that uses pearlized inks, and it looks a lot more complicated, honestly, than it is. This is probably one of the more easy nails to do. And again, you could do it in all sorts of different colorways, but it still has a little bit of that magical feel to it. And I actually think this one is very well suited to shorter nails if you don't want like really long extensions. So yeah, let's hop into the supplies that you will be using. Okay, so in terms of supplies, this one is actually pretty simple. So if you're looking to get into shell nails, maybe this is for you. You do need some metallic inks. So those are a little bit specific. I have here a white metallic ink and then this really pretty deep bronze. Any color will do though. You also need a 3D texture gel. This is the Jello Edge Gel. It's also good for chrome, which I will be applying a pearl chrome. I'm using the Jinbei Crazy Thick again for some shell lines, and then an ombre brush for texture. So starting with this ombre brush, I'm going to dip it into my 3D texture gel. You can see here it has a super stiff viscosity. It does not move at all. You can get really nice deep textured lines. And so I'm just going to take that ombre brush and paint on that texture gel in curves across the nail. If you were doing this on a client and you wanted to hide their free edge because it is a clear base, you could start with a nude polish instead. Since I'm just demoing on a tip, I didn't bother going in with any sort of base, but again, you could choose to use some sort of base color. And then before curing, I actually take a wipe and I'm just wiping around the edges just to avoid any sort of like harsh edges where that texture gel is sticking out. You don't want it to get caught on the hair or on clothing or anything like that. And you can already see how cool this is looking. I love a good 3D texture nail. And so I cured that for the full amount of time before going in with a pearl chrome. This is the Iya chrome from their new First Love collection. I don't know if you can get it separately. I'll have to check on that, but it is a really pretty like pearl glaze. It has a bit of transparency, so I'm applying that over the whole surface. And that Jello Edge Gel is a really good chrome base. I've never had any issues with chrome sticking to it, so I just make sure to rub that in the grooves before wiping away any excess with a makeup sponge, a dense makeup sponge. And then to add the shell pattern, we're going to take our inks. Again, you can use any color. I do recommend shimmery ink if you want that more magical pearlized look, or you can just use a regular colored ink for something a little bit more realistic. And I'm going to paint 3 lines following the curve of that texture that we created. I'm starting with the darker color, and then I'm trying to concentrate most of the ink in kind of like the center of the line, or in the case of the cuticle end, by the cuticle and by the free edge, just so that it's not quite as harsh of a line. And then I'm going to take the lighter ink, in this case it's a pearlized white ink, and I'm just going to soften the edges of those lines so you get a really nice blend. I did wait for the previous layer to dry, by the way, just so that they wouldn't be mixing too much. And this is honestly such an easy process. I think it's very beginner friendly, very achievable. Now to encapsulate all of the ink, I'm going in with the Roro Clear Gel. This is just a thicker overlay gel. Any sort of thick overlay gel will do. Those inks in the chrome really hold the texture, so even though you're technically smoothing out the surface, you still see those nice shell lines. Now after the overlay, you cure it, and then I forgot to do this, but you do want to top coat it. I forgot that my overlay was not a non-wipe. And using the same technique as before, but just with less product, I'm going to go in and add the shell ridges. These ones are a lot skinnier and closer together. Again, opting for something skinnier just to match the inspo of the tutorial and make this one a little bit more true to life. I am still flash curing though between each line just to make sure that they hold their shape. I personally find this sort of line work really satisfying. It's very calming to me, very organized in what can be a chaotic life. But after your ridges, go ahead and give it a full cure, and then this design is done as well. Again, it's actually quite simple, not too many steps, and very customizable with other colors, so long as you have the inks. Okay, so the next 4 designs are going to be me attempting to mimic sort of like realistic shells and translate them to nail art. And I wanted to start with one of these scallop shells. They are more of like the flatter sea scallops, and some of them on the back have a really nice almost checkerboard pattern to them. I do it in more of like a natural tan brown color, but if you have the inks in pink or even maybe like a peachy orange, that would be really pretty as well. This is a very ink heavy design, so let's talk about what you'll need to achieve this look. Sorry, I just realized my cat is like grooming himself in the background. Hopefully nobody cares. Okay, and for our third design, that is a little bit more leaning towards the realism end of the spectrum, you do need a solid texture gel. This one is from Divock, but really any sort of like oil paint thick texture gel will do. And then you'll also need inks. I do recommend a light, medium, and dark tone of the same color. Just for blendability, I'm using tan here. You'll want some sort of thin consistency matte top coat. It does really need to be thin. And then a nail glue. This one's that non-wipe Ivy Fix gel that I used on the first nail. And then for special tools, you will need some sort of pointed implement to create those grooves in the nail. Either a silicone tool like this one, the chisel tip, or even an orange wood stick will do. And then you'll want some sort of sponge. Now I'm starting with the canvas texture gel, and I'm going straight in on the nail surface. You can see here just how thick and stiff this is. That's really the kind of consistency you want. Nothing that's going to run because you need it to be able to hold its shape. So I'm starting with a layer, just a pretty thin one here. It doesn't really matter how it's applied as long as it covers the whole surface. I added some of the grooves in line with where I thought I would be drawing my groove lines for the shell. That's unnecessary. I would say if I were to do this again, I would just paint the surface, not really caring which way the strokes were angled. But give that a full cure because we're going in with a second, slightly thicker layer. You still don't want it too thick. You want it thin enough to where it's going to cure through, but also thick enough to be able to hold some ridges, some grooves. So I'm going to apply that to the whole surface, and then I'll take my brush and just add those shell curved ridges into the surface. So I'm just kind of like following the natural curve of the edge of the nail. Keep your touch light so you're not just wiping away all of the product, and you want to curve your lines in the opposite direction of the shell lines that you'll add later. Once you're happy, I'm going in and just once again going around the edge, the perimeter of the nail, just collecting any extra product so it's not sticking out. That way when you cure it, it doesn't snag on anything, but we're not going to cure yet. Before you cure, you want to take your stick, your silicone tool, whatever you have, and you're just going to carve in those shell ridges. This is where that texture is really going to come alive and start looking super realistic, hopefully. It's almost like the opposite of the process we did before, whereas instead of adding a 3D texture on top, we're carving out that 3D texture, and I really like how it looks. I don't know. I follow a lot of sculptors on like Instagram and on YouTube, and I love watching their processes and borrowing elements from it. I'll be honest, you do need a really steady hand here, so make sure that you're anchoring your hand. I'll use my pinky to kind of stabilize on my other hand, but once you're happy with your lines, we're going to do the same thing as before and just kind of wipe around the edges just to avoid anything sticking out, any extra product. Give this a full cure, and then we are ready for our inks. Now the goal is to create kind of like this almost checkered striped pattern, so I'm starting with the lightest color. You want to start with the lightest and then move towards the darkest. And I'm just going to paint the area that I want the stripes in. We're starting with the lightest color because I want the darkest part to be in the center so you get a nice blend. So the lightest color is going to take up the biggest area. Similar to the last nail, I'm doing a stripe in the center, a curved stripe, and then also painting the right end of the cuticle and then the left end of the free edge. And I'm actually trying to purposefully not get the color within the grooves. I think that makes a big difference. So try to just concentrate the ink on the raised portions. Now I'm going in with that mid-tone and I'm just blocking out some of those kind of like little spots on the nail. You want to sort of alternatively place these so it's not one even line across the nail. The best I can do is really just put the inspo picture up so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I wish I had these really pretty like deep pink colors. Every time I think that I have all of the ink products that I'll ever need, I swear I find some reason that I need new colors. It's bad, but what can I say? I just love these as a medium right now. Anyway, after you're done with your medium tones, you're going to go in with the darkest color and just do little bits in the center of those patterns that we've already created. The goal is to, again, create kind of like a seamless blend from dark to light. So you just want to concentrate a little bit of that ink. My tip is make sure that your brush isn't super wet before going in with this. You can kind of like brush off most of the ink back into the bottle before this step. That way you just have a little bit more control. And then I'm going to go back in with one of those medium colors and just blend out the harsh edges of that dark color, if there are any. And then same thing actually with the lightest color. I'm going to blend. This is a lot of blending work. It does take a little bit of patience, a little bit of time, but I just find that the outcome is just so realistic. I don't know, I envision this as maybe like an accent nail on a beach set. Probably not the same pattern for every nail unless you want to drive yourself crazy making it. But at this point, I felt like my dark spots weren't actually varied enough. They were a little too uniform. So I just went back in and added a couple here and there. Again, blending those out with that lighter color at the end. And finally, we are done with the actual like patterning of this nail. We can move on to the finishing touches. Now to seal all of this ink in and to make sure to preserve that texture, I'm going in very lightly with a thin viscosity matte top. Now you want a thin viscosity because in order to preserve that texture, I'm actually taking a little bit on a sponge and I'm just going to tap that over the surface. This is both going to absorb some of the extra and make sure that I'm not displacing too much of the ink. For some reason, for me, matte top coats tend to move ink around, but now at least we have a protective layer, so I'm going to fully cure that and then just apply a few little charms here and there, maybe a little starfish, another pearl, using that same glue from earlier. And because that glue is actually non-wipe, I'm just going to apply it straight from the tube and add a few fun little water droplets to make it look like the shell is coming straight out of the ocean. I don't know, I think this droplet effect just really nicely contrasts with the matte surface of the shell. And then once you place your droplets, you can give this a full cure and we are done with this design as well. This is probably one of my favorites of the set. I think it does look really realistic, so I'm super happy with how it came out, even if it does take a little bit of time. Okay, and then for our next nail, we're doing a mussel shell. I love mussels. I don't like eating them. Actually, I know a lot of people do. After dissecting a clam in high school, I don't know, I can't really do shellfish like that anymore. I still love shrimp, I still love crab, but the mussels, like the clams and stuff, I think they're really pretty and I love beachcombing. That's one of my favorite things to do. I just can't eat them anymore. Anyway, tangent aside, I grew up in Alaska, so we don't have a ton of like the tropical shells that you normally see if you're going beachcombing, say in Florida where I live now. But what we did have a plethora of were mussels. And I just think the like dark blues and purples are really, really pretty. And I haven't really seen a mussel shell design out there. I'm sure they exist. I just personally haven't come across one. So I wanted to attempt something a little bit more unique, a little bit darker. So here's what you will need to achieve this look. Okay, so for this design, we are going to need some syrup gels. Particularly, you want a light tannish color. to help mimic the mussel shell color, a really nice dark blue. This is Aronia from the Yogurt Nail Tongulu collection. You want some sort of marble base. This is the Poach It Fallen Blur. You want an opaque black polish. It's important that this one is opaque. And then you will need some chromes. So I'm using Sweetie Nail Supply's New Fairy Chromes, 3 different colors from that collection. It's the kind of like teal green, the purple, and the sky blue. I will be using the same glue from earlier to affix some charms. This part is completely optional, but you will also need that same ombre brush from before. You will want some sort of round brush to do a different type of 3D swirl, and then of course our textured Jello Edge Gel. So starting with our base, it is going to be just a milky white. We're using the same base that Iya syrup color, and I'm actually doing 2 layers this time. Don't forget to cure in between, and then we're going to take our black opaque gel, and this time we're going to paint on a French tip, but sort of like a skewed French tip. You want one end to be higher than the other just to mimic kind of like that angled look of the mussel shell. I cure that. I wipe away the tacky layer because this does have a little bit of color in the inhibition layer, and then I'm going to be taking the black, the syrup blue, and that tan color and putting it on a palette again just to easily access it. Then I'm going to paint the entire surface of the nail with our marbling gel. You do not cure at this step. Instead, I'm going to take that ombre brush and just float on the black over the top of the French to create more of a blended blurred line. And then without curing, we're going to take the blue and just marble that into the black. The goal is to create a really nice seamless blend. The marbling gel will help with that. I actually think that you can just go in straight from the bottle. I don't think I needed to put it on the ombre brush. So I'm just applying it straight from the bottle, concentrating a lot of that blue where the black meets the blue, and then just letting the marbling gel do its work to blend those together. And then I take a little bit of that tan on a liner brush and just add a few little lines just for some realism, because if you look at mussel shells, the blue is not like completely solid blue all of the time. I give that a cure, and then I wipe off any tacky layer. And then this is where we go in with our Jello Edge Gel and just add the ridges to the surface of the nail. This is essentially the same process as that second nail. We're just going to add our texture. This time though, I'm keeping it a little bit tighter of a loop just because mussels are a little bit skinnier of a shell. But then we clean up the edges once again just to make sure this doesn't get snagged on anything, and then I'm curing this for 30 seconds before going in to apply my chrome. So starting with the metallic purple, I'm just going to be painting this on in some patches. You want to leave room for the other colors to shine through too. So I'm just doing 2 patches of this color, then going in and doing 2 patches of the teal color, and then finishing it off with the icy blue. Now, as you can see here, this is a very strong metallic chrome. You can't really see the colors underneath anymore once you have it all applied. It looks really pretty, but we've lost kind of the mussel colors underneath. So what I'm actually going to do, and I discovered this technique kind of on accident, is I'm going to wipe off the extra dust with a makeup sponge, and then I'll take a lint-free wipe, and I'm just going to gently brush over the surface. You want to brush opposite direction of the lines of the chrome so that you're just kind of wiping away the chrome from the highest points, and then the chrome still sits in those ridges. This does 2 things. It highlights that texture while also adding that little bit of iridescence to the surface of the mussel shell, but it also doesn't hide that color underneath by being too overpowering. I've done this technique before and I really want to try it again with some more isolated chrome, so we'll see. But I'm just going to encapsulate this. In hindsight, I would not recommend using a thick gel. I would use a thinner gel and then take a sponge and sort of dab away some of the excess. That way you don't lose those nice ridges from that texture gel. And then we're just going to finish this off, of course, with some pearls. This is the Ivy Fix Gel, that same tube gel, just in a jar. I happen to have it. You can use the tube gel. If you don't have the jar version, I just like the nice thick consistency. It's a little bit thicker, I would say, than the Jinbei Crazy Top Thick. So I'll use this if I want to do like a 3D swipe like I did here. I just apply some to a brush, do a little stroke over the surface of the nail. I add my pearls in and I'm just kind of coating these in that product to protect the shine. I'll kind of redefine the swipe here and then very quickly cure this because it will self-level if you leave it for too long. and we are done with this nail as well. I'm really happy with how it turned out. If you wanted to, you could potentially skip the chrome and just end with the texture gel step, but I've always been a maximalist when it comes to nails. Alright, and for our second to last shell, still attempting to do some realism here, but maybe with a touch of abstractness. I was going for an oyster shell here, so that kind of like really pretty pink ombre center with almost a pearlized iridescent finish. And then I felt like it just needed a little bit of something extra, so that's where the gold accents come in. This one is, I would say, on the more beginner-friendly end of things, and you don't need that many products to achieve it, so let's talk about what we need in terms of supplies. Okay, so for our slightly abstract luxury oyster shell, you're going to need an iridescent film. This one is from Core, hands down the best that I've ever used. You also need some sort of film glue. Of course, a little pearl accent. What's an oyster without a pearl? A pearlized chrome, a gold chrome, our non-wipe 3D gel glue, and then you'll also want a bunch of syrup colors ranging from a white to a dark pink. I'm using these four from the EA collection. You'll also need some sort of smooth chrome top and then some sort of textured chrome application gel. And then you'll just need a liner brush and a round brush. Okay, so starting with our syrups, we're going to go, again, lightest to darkest. So I'm going to use that white color and I'm just painting on one layer. I'll give that a full cure in my nail lamp. And then I'm wiping away the tacky layer because I'll be applying a foil gel. This is the Ivy Gum Gel, the best that I've used. It does have a smell, so I will warn you, it does have a bit of a smell, but I apply a layer, cure it, and then I go in with this iridescent film. And look at how well it's going to pick up that film. I'm just smoothing it down with my finger. I don't need a perfectly even surface for this. It's okay if it's slightly patchy, so I'm not being too careful. But the foil just peels away so easily. I'm just reapplying in any big spots that I might have missed, and you just get this gorgeous, iridescent, shiny unicorn finish. So pretty, so rainbow. Now, I don't actually want too much of this iridescent effect, so I'm going to go over with another layer of that syrup white, and we're going to marble in the other colors. Now, this doesn't have to be a perfect aura because we are going for that very naturalistic shell look. You could potentially use a different marbling technique for this, but I'm just starting with the lightest color, painting a large area before going towards the darker color in the center. None of this is cured, by the way. All of this is just wet gel on wet gel to get a really nice blend. And because we're using syrup gels, you still get that nice hint of that iridescent film showing through underneath, which is exactly what I wanted. I didn't want it to be too overpowering. So I just add a little bit more white around the edges, and then I did flip the nail over just to kind of let all that product pool since it is a slightly thicker layer of gel. And then I give that a full cure, wipe down the tacky layer on the surface, and here's what we are left with. Now I am going in with a chrome top because I'm going to be adding just a pearlized chrome sheen over the surface. I do really like the Nail Thoughts chrome matte bases. I think they're really good. So I apply that over the whole nail, cure it, and then I rub in my EA Pearl Chrome. This Pearl Chrome, it has a lot of transparency to it, so as you can see, you still see all of those colors underneath. It just gives it that really nice pearlized sheen, which is perfect for the shell look. I wipe away the excess, and now it's time for a little bit of gold chrome isolation. I was really working off of like this inspo pick here, so I took my Cocoist accessory bond, and I'm just doing some squiggly lines, something to just kind of mimic the edge of an oyster and how it's very curvy, very flowy. This texture chrome gel is a little bit more self-leveling than say the Jello Edge Gel. You could use that. I just wanted the white base here so that the gold really popped. Once I'm happy with the lines, I cure it for 30 seconds, go in with my Nail Bio Gold Chrome. This is the gold mirror powder. And if you notice, the gold is not sticking to the base because it's already been chromed. So if you didn't know, chrome doesn't stick to chrome, so you can always do chrome isolation on top of an already chromed surface. I just wipe away the excess and we are ready to top coat. I have a special top coat that I use for my chromed designs. That way I'm not contaminating any other designs that don't have chrome. So I just cured that, and then I'm going in with that glue again, and I'm just putting a blob on the nail so I can do that same swipe technique as the last nail, just so I can add a little pearl accent. I don't know, I've been loving this little 3D swoosh lately. I see it a lot in nuanced designs, and I just think it adds a great little extra bit of texture. And we are done with this design as well. Again, this one's a bit more abstract, but I still really like how it came out. It's giving like Birth of Venus, Renaissance era. All right, and then for our final design, and honestly one of my favorites, I was super pleased with how it came out. I attempted to do an abalone shell. Now I absolutely love this tutorial here for the abalone look. It is just so realistic, so gorgeous, but it does take quite a few steps and you do have to file down a lot of product. And so I thought I wanted to try and see if I could do something just a little bit easier in terms of not having to file things. But full credit to this artist, it is absolutely gorgeous. The way that people's minds work, I am just blown away. So many amazing tutorial artists out there. Honestly, I just love being part of such a creative community. That's one of the things that just makes me really happy about nails, is all of the different ways that you can combine products and achieve different results. So today's abalone shell, it does not involve any filing. It does involve some layering and some very specific products. So let's talk about what you'll need. So you do need some very specific products for this look. I showed this off in my recent haul, but this is the purple color from the Favori Pearl Layering Collection. You will need a marbling gel, some sort of top coat to seal in the chrome. This is my chrome specific top coat. And if you can't get your hands on it, you want a black jelly chrome ready top coat. Otherwise you'll have to mix one. And then of course our chrome powders. These are from the new Sweetie Nail Supply Aurora Chrome sets. So you want something with a strong blue, teal, and green reflect to it. And because these are color shifting, you just want to make sure they show those colors over black. You'll also want some sort of detailer liner brush and then a black painting gel. I'm just using this one from Miss Millo. And we're actually going to start with our pearl gel. So this is one of those really cool bubbling special effect gels. When you paint it on and you let it sit, you get these sort of like holes that form. Sorry, trypophobia warning. I will put the timestamp to skip this tutorial if that is not for you. But as you can see, as you let the gel settle, it creates those nice holes, which I think is perfect for an abalone look. So I'm just taking my 3 chrome colors, and because this is a non-white product, you can apply the chrome directly to it. I'm just applying it in little patches over the surface, wiping away any extra with a dense makeup sponge. And then I'm going to paint over it with my chrome ready black polish. Because this is a sheer black, you can still see the iridescence from underneath. You still get that nice chrome effect. Now I'm going to cure that layer and then apply more chrome over the tops. Again, I'm just applying in patches, and this is going to create that nice depth. This look really is just about layering the pearl gel, the black chrome base, and then the chromes on top. So I wipe away the excess, and then it's back in with a couple little patches of that pearl gel. The thinner you apply it, the more holes are going to form, so I do try to keep it relatively thin, and that was 10 times sped up so you can see that the holes are forming. I cure that, apply more chrome on top. I forget to show it, but I did apply over this another layer of that Nail Thoughts black chrome gel. So at this point I've applied 2 layers of each. The pearl gel, then the chrome, then the black chrome gel, and then the chrome on top of that. Okay, hopefully we're all on the same page. Sorry if that's confusing. Feel free to ask me questions in the comments. I'm happy to try to answer them as best as I can, but I wipe away the excess, and now we're going to go in with our black painting gel. Any black painting gel will do. I just find the Art Fit palette from Miss Millo really handy. I take a liner brush, and I'm just going to add some squiggly wavy lines along the surface of the nail. I'm not curing in between. You want to keep this wet. And I'm just adding some kind of like layer lines, some grooves. Some of them are going to be going parallel to each other, some of them perpendicular, but you want to leave a decent amount of space in between. Because we are going to marble these lines out, I'm using the marbling gel, the Fallen Blur. I'm just applying a little tiny bit to my brush, and then I'm using that product on the brush to kind of blend out one side of the edge of that line. The marbling gel just helps create a nice blend. You want to keep the other end of the line really crisp, really nice and pigmented. I actually learned this technique from the amazing Hirohisa Takeshi. He was at Premier Orlando with Amena and he demoed his marbling technique, and I thought it would be perfect to apply here just to create that kind of like almost scaly layered look that abalone shells have. And overall, I just found the technique really easy to use. It does require a little bit of patience when you have so many lines, but the marbling gel makes the blending very forgiving. You can also wipe away some of the black gel if you find you have a little bit too much, but once you're happy with it, give it a cure. And then I'm going in with one last layer of pearl gel. Now, honestly, I should have encapsulated the black with a non-wipe top of some sort, because when I went in with my final bit of chrome over that pearl gel, it did kind of stick to the black layers and cause it to be a little bit more sparkly than I would have wanted. But lesson learned, encapsulate the black, then go in with your final layer of pearl gel and chrome. But now I'm just top coating everything with a nice layer of non-wipe top. And honestly, you could end here. I did decide to experiment with the Jello Jello Edge Gel. I just added some texture lines just to see what it looked like. Ultimately, I decided I wasn't a huge fan of how this looked. So then I went in with that Jinbei Crazy Top Thick and did those skinnier shell lines instead. And honestly, I wasn't a huge fan of how this looked either. I think the texture in this case was actually hiding a lot of the quote unquote texture we had built with all of the layering of the chrome and the pearl gel. So I wiped it off. I prefer this just as a smooth design. That way it just looks like a polished piece of abalone. And again, I'm really happy with how this turned out. It might not actually be easier than the previous method that involved the filing, but I do like the final results. And that is actually our last design for today. So those were all of the shells. Let me know down in the comments which design is your favorite, and then also what is your favorite shell type in general. I didn't have time to make it for this video specifically, but for my short series, which by the way, over on Instagram, I have different short design series where I'm trying to do more like minute tutorials to feed the short form algorithm, because I know that's what a lot of people like watching nowadays. They do end up on YouTube eventually. It's just that I upload them there second. So if you want to see them first, check out my Instagram, it will be linked in the description. But I do have maybe one or two other shells that I really want to try. I'm really stuck on this giant clam tutorial idea. We'll see when I have the time to complete it. Speaking of socials, if you do have a Discord, I have a Discord server. It's totally free. Anybody can join it. Feel free to invite any nail lover, but it's just a place where we can all kind of hang out, ask questions, share suggestions, get feedback on designs. I'm really happy that everyone's made it such a positive and welcoming community. I absolutely love opening my Discord and reading all the messages, seeing everyone's work, and we're actually doing monthly contests now too. They're not for like a prize or anything, because unfortunately, as much as I'm very grateful for the success of my channel, I'm not at a point where I can like financially provide any sort of monthly prize, but you do get a special winner's role and icon if you win the monthly contest, and it's just a fun way to hopefully inspire you to do more nails. So definitely feel free to check out the Discord. We are just starting the June contest. And yeah, again, if you'd like to support me, all of the items are linked in the description, along with my discount code GETPRESSED if you would like to save 10%. I really appreciate everybody who uses it and supports my horrible nail purchasing habits. Speaking of which, next week's video will be my premiere vlog, including my haul, so you can see all of the fun goodies I got at Premiere Orlando. Let me know if you like this video where I focus on like a specific concept and do a bunch of versions of it versus like a full design video. I personally do really like the design videos. That's something I like watching, but I know it doesn't necessarily perform the best on YouTube. Don't worry, I will still be doing it. I have a very fun idea for a design video coming up soon. Little sneak peek, it will be some claw nails because I absolutely love them and I haven't done a crazy set of claws in a while, so I'm itching to get back into it. But I hope you all enjoyed the video. I think that's enough yapping from me as usual, so I hope you are all having a wonderful day wherever you are, and I will see you all for the next one. Bye! Smoggy, what are we doing? What? What, baby? You want to sit on my lap? Okay, hello. Yep. You want to say hi? Say hi.